Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon.
We are going to get started in just 2 minutes. Thanks for being here early. We really appreciate it.
Oh shit. You can you answer this and just take
Hello, thank you so much for being here. Hi, Deanna. Hi, Brent.
hi.
We are about to promote Quentin into the panelist as well. There he is. Hey, Quentin.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi, hello.
Hi. All right, well, let's get started. It's 1:31, and I think that there's a lot to cover. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for part 2 of our webinar series with our partners, Marque, where we are talking about specific ways to price and display luxury handbags so that you can sell more and really perform like a top performing pawnbroker. We have Deanna and Quentin from Marque, who are some of the stars of our show today, who are going to be giving you some of the do's and don'ts of in-store displays. So certainly jump in with questions on the chat if you want them to dive deeper. And we also have another guest panelist, Brent West here, who's the Director of Ops at Braswell & Son. So thank you so much, Brent, for being here today.
It's a pleasure.
We're glad to have you. It's always great to get multiple perspectives. So today, as I mentioned, we are going to talk about how you can display items to sell. And there's a list of do's and a list of don'ts, and we're going to share those with you, and then also bring up some real examples of how some stores are doing it very well, and then also some stores that probably could use some improvement. But it's just nice to look at those examples, compare it with maybe some of the things you're doing, and walk away with some actionable recommendations for how you could start making changes. Tally is going to go through how you can price your items like a pro and leverage the data sitting in Bravo to do that. And then we'll end it with Deanna just touching on the Marque continuing education program. We want to make sure that you all know about that and some of the awesome discounts that are available to you as Bravo customers. So for housekeeping, as always, we're recording this. We'll send you the recording. Last week, we had so much great participation, tons of questions in the chat and the Q&A. So certainly continue to do that. One thing to note, when you are entering a question into the chat, you just want to make sure that the little blue button down there is selected for panelists and attendees. That way everybody can see the question that you're asking versus just us or just the attendees. And then at the end, we'll have contact information as well. So if there's things that you want to dive deeper into, we're here to help and we can further that discussion. So Tally, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. I know you wanted to do a quick follow-up from last week's webinar.
Yeah, so one of the things that we talked about in last week's webinar was the ability or the recommendation of where to post the link in Instagram versus Facebook. So in Facebook, it's always okay that you post a link in or under the item, but in Instagram, you really want to steer away from dropping the URL into the item description, and instead you want to create a link library. And so I showed an example up top of a link library where it's going to display. If you click into that, it will open up into a library of links, or in your case, a library of listings. I also dropped in two link in bio companies that can help you create this. And both of them are free for the basic needs, which is what 99% of you are going to need. So check out Linktree, check out later.com. And those will help you build that library of links. Again, you don't want to drop the URL to an item under each item description. You want to create a library of links so that your customers can click that link and see all of the items that you have for sale, and they can click into each individual listing so that they can buy. So there was some questions on that last week. Dana did an awesome job of explaining it, but instead of being so hypothetical, I thought that I would just circle around and follow up on exactly how you can do this. It's a good idea to start that right away.
Great, thank you, Tally. So Quentin, I'm going to turn this over to you now to lead us through really a lot of the don'ts and then the corresponding do's, things that you commonly see that people are doing when they're displaying their luxury items. And then Deanna and Brent, I'll invite you when Quentin's done to jump in as well or add color to some of the things that he's saying.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you so much. So we've been to many pawn shops here in the US and also internationally. And I can tell you that there are some clear winners in terms of the way that these types of items, handbags, accessories, and fashion jewelry from these various brands are displayed. One of the things that we clearly see in those stores that are doing well with the product is they have it separated. They don't necessarily have the handbags mixed in with other products. So obviously don't want to have the handbags mixed in with electronics as an example. That designated space should also be done in a format that is retail appropriate. In some cases, we see that the product, again, is not necessarily displayed properly, like in a retail setting. And as a result, they're just simply not as successful in the store. So one of the things that we do see, again, in the successful pawn shops is they organize by either brand, so either Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Chanel, et cetera, or by style. Because occasionally when the customer will come in, they're looking for a specific style. They may be looking for a crossbody handbag or a duffel bag, and they're all mixed together. So sometimes that's also a part of the organizational process. There are various examples of this here in the US where people have really engaged with this type of organization, and they have a very nice display. Of course, Braswell & Son is certainly one of them. So I would certainly look to them as they are leaders, certainly in the handbag space. The bags should not be laying on top of each other. Again, some of these points are very obvious, but I've seen it many different times where they're just simply stacked on top of each other. Those bags should be stuffed and also on display in a nice organized way. And there are purse stands, handbag stands that you can buy on Amazon where you can hang the handbag on it. And again, it's just a better display. And when they're stuffed, again, they just look more presentable than if they're just simply flat. So one of the things that I do also see is some pawn shops and some resale shops, they do very well in terms of the display. Many pawn shops use the slat wall type display, and that's okay. I don't necessarily think it's the best type of display, but I understand, depending on the pawn shop, they may already have that on the wall. So the background color should be a very light or neutral color. It shouldn't be a dark color. If it's dark blue, black, it tends to mute the product that you're looking to display. So you're better off having a light color. There's many studies that have gone into this. If you walk into a Louis Vuitton store, and we'll show one example of that later on, again, the colors are generally a lighter color. And that's by design, and they've spent millions and millions of dollars in terms of research to get to that color. So why not follow the leader? And again, there's one great example on here that we'll show later on. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel, as it says here. Just mimic the leaders. The leaders are certainly the brands. So all you need to do is walk into a Louis Vuitton store or a Chanel store and try to go down that path. Of course, they've spent a lot of money in terms of the displays. Doesn't need to be exact, but there are some great examples here that we're going to show here in a few seconds.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Quentin. Deanna or Brent, anything that you want to add to the list or to the discussion?
I'll let Brent jump in first.
Well, I mean, what Quentin's saying is essential to having success on the sales floor. At all of our stores, we showcase our high-end merchandise. We always segregate that merchandise out, and we put it in a way where it's stuffed correctly and it's labeled correctly. And we want it to stand out so that folks, when they walk in, they'll feel like they're in that luxury experience that they would have at a high-end store and not feel like they're in a pawn shop. I mean, I know that being a pawn broker is our core business, but it doesn't mean that we have to dirty up our shop or disrespect is what we usually talk about in our training sessions, the merchandise, because the merchandise will speak for itself if you just show it in the right light. And so there is value into spending a little bit of extra money and having a better display case and adding extra paper and stuffing to the bag and then, you know, having it showcased and standing up and add lighting and things like that. Customers value that, they will pay for that, and they are looking for that. And that way you're now selling something that is a luxury brand instead of, you know, treating it like another item that you might sell in the store. So it'll draw attention in the right light that you're trying to do.
Okay, I just wanted to jump in because a couple of things that maybe people don't know, excuse me. When you're packing the bags, when you're filling them out to display them, try not to use newspaper because anything can happen and that ink can transfer. So you want to use like packing paper that you can get at a hardware store or a U-Haul store or anything like that. If you have to use newspaper, put it in like, you know, those produce plastic bags. You can just tie a knot and do that, but you want to make sure that the bag is full, that it's not slouching or anything like that. And then also taking an extra 5 minutes to just wipe the bag down and clean it up. There are several things that you can use. Baby wipes, they're called water wipes. You can get them usually at your grocery store, and there's no fragrance, there's no dyes, there's nothing in there. They're super safe. And then for conditioning, there's several out there, but Apple Care and conditioner is really good. Saddle soap. And then I think it's called Bricks for the hardware. So just taking those extra few moments to give the item a wipe down and a nice condition will absolutely translate into a higher sell. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Those are awesome tips. Thank you guys. Any questions so far from the audience? Feel free to go ahead, put those in the Q&A. But let's go ahead and then look at some examples. Deanna, I'll let you lead us through this, but for those of you on the line, this is where we're going to ask for some participation. So we're going to show you an image. Take 10 seconds, and I just want you to put in the chat how this makes you feel looking at this if you were to walk into this store. All right. Good. Overwhelmed. Yikes.
Oh, sweet. You know, it's a great store. There's so much going on there that it's kind of hard to focus on one area. So when it comes to luxury bags, you really want to carve out a space dedicated to that. And, you know, I don't want to say free from all the other places, but if you look way, way, way in the back there, there's a couple of bags hanging on a slat wall next to guitars. I mean, it's always going to be your personal preference, how you want to, decorate your store or where you want to place things. But for the biggest impact, you want to create a luxury area. And that can be with your diamonds and your watches, but you really want to set that apart so it's not mixed in with everything else, because these shouldn't be mixed in with everyone else. Brent, what are your thoughts?
I mean, my thing is if you have limited space, then, and you're trying to cater to everything that's going to walk in the door, I think you might rethink what's actually representing money on the floor for you in sales, and probably start limiting your exposure for what you're putting out there on the floor, because there's so much cool stuff in that store that I don't see anything. I'm overstimulated.
Yeah.
That's what we would do. We would probably limit what we're posting out there on the floor or putting out on the floor.
Great. Let's look at the next example. All right. So in the chat, just put in, what are your first thoughts? Things that you think look great, things that could be improved. All right. We see elegant.
Too many.
I think there may be too many in that display case. Maybe a little cluttered. It looks clean, well lit. All right, great. So let's go ahead then, and at a glance, what are your impressions, Deanna, Brent, Quentin?
Okay, for myself, you know what? I tend to agree that it is a little cluttered. And, if you've got bigger bags, do 2 on a shelf, do 3 on a shelf. I mean, it's all going to depend on how much real estate you have in your store. The first thing that catches my eye is the big Chanel, but I think I'm kind of partial to Chanel. But having items like this well lit in a glass case, it's going to, okay, if I walk into a store and I see these under a glass case, first thing I'm going to do is look for an employee, because I want the case open, because there's forbidden fruit in that case that's locked and I want in. So that's kind of the emotion that you want to create for, people coming in looking for these luxury bags. But again, less is more. The boxes and everything like that, that's great if you have an empty shelf way up on top, if you want to display those, but those don't, I know what a Chanel is. I know exactly what it is. I can pick them out of here. I don't need the boxes there to tell me that.
Yeah, usually the boxes are used as filler in some cases, or you're looking to display the brand in some way. So in this case, it does make it a little bit more cluttered. I do like that they have the entropy seal at the bottom right with the glass door open. I think that's a positive thing. And it's not necessarily detracting from what it is that they're trying to accomplish there. There is on the second shelf from the top, the dust bag for the Hermes bag. I can see that just laying there. Obviously, that should not be there. But as a general statement, I still think it's well done.
The only thing that I would change on that display, if it were me, is I would try to get them to do their sizes a little different, possibly, and probably have smaller sizes higher up and bigger sizes lower down. I might also group the brands a little bit better. And it looks like they might have just tried to do color to try to split it up. But all in all, if that was in our store, I would be happy with the variety there, because variety will cater to different people when they walk in. We wouldn't be writing anybody up that day. That looks good. That would be okay for us. I was trying to see if y'all took that from one of our stores, to be honest with you. So.
I don't think not this one, but you do have beautiful stores, all of them.
Thank you.
All right, great. All right, so let's for this next one, take a look at this, and same thing. What are some things you notice immediately, good, bad, or otherwise, about the store and the luxury bags? All right, we have unstuffed bags, cleaner spray. Had to really search for the bags. All right, Deanna, your thoughts.
Well, when I first saw this image, I was fixated on the fish in the tank. And then I had to search for the bags. You know, you have time before the doors open and after the doors close to clean and do things like that. You should always make sure any sort of cleaning products or anything like that are set away. And you want to make sure the bags are really representing your store the best that they can, which means that they're stuffed, they're clean, they're on stands if they won't stand on their own. And then, you know, again, that dedicated space, you want to make sure that people understand what it is and where it's at. So when they walk in, it's not being distracted by 30 or 40 different things. It's like, oh, there's the bags.
Brent, anything you'd add?
Well, I like their look as far as, you know, it looks like they're clean. It looks like though the bag is an add-on product and not really something they're wanting to focus on because they have all the jewelry and stuff. And so Deanna is 100% right. I mean, to me, they could sell more of those bags if they just would display them a little better, put their cleaning supplies away, stuff them better. Because the shelving is probably fine for what they're trying to do. It's just that they just didn't spend a lot of time on the bags that they did in their jewelry cases.
Yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a little 8.5 by 11 little countertop display, or
right.
You know, a flyer saying, you know, we're happy to loan on authentic luxury handbags, you know, from brands from Chanel, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can put anything out there. So if you have a big space like this, maybe people's eye doesn't go to that. They're looking at the jewelry. But if they see that little sign there, they're like, oh my God, you guys do bags. Where are they? I have Chanel in my closet. I'll bring them in. So you always want to make sure if it's not, because like, you know, Brent, your store is a lot of bags and you do a really big bag business, but for ones that are just getting in, make sure it's a touch point throughout the store so people can be reminded that you are in the bag business also.
Yeah, and to me, I think you're really touching on something there, because you don't have to have a lot of bags in your store to be doing bags, but if you're gonna have them, then just spend a little extra time because they've already dedicated some really nice showcase space there. I just think that if they would just touch it up a little bit more, they would be getting more customers asking. They go well with the jewelry, and they would be selling more if they just touched it up a little bit more.
Yep, agreed. I just feel bad for the fish. I feel like the fish tank is too small. It's too small for that big size fish also. That's a separate conversation.
Next webinar, I'll work that in part 3 of our series. All right, so the next one is actually not handbags, but I know Deanna, you had pulled this one, and Tally, I think that there's an at a glance list there, but talk us through why we've included this one, because they are luxury goods, right?
Because for as much as we say, have a section dedicated to your luxury bags, you all have cases and there's always jewelry in there. Or if you have sunglasses, make it presentable. You can put in, you know, small leather goods, you know, smackled along with your diamond rings and things like that, because the more people see that and know that, the more they're going to associate, oh, my local store also does handbags and leather goods. So make it inviting and make it pretty. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's super easy to do. Make sure on the glasses, the lenses are wiped and they're clean. For the wallets, displaying them like this, just mix them throughout everything. And that's just going to reflect your store and what you're doing in a better light, having all these things, you know, bags, of course, in an area, you don't want to put those, you know, in the cases, not flat cases like this, but you understand what I'm saying. You know, feel free to put your wallets and your SLGs inside and glasses inside of your diamond cases.
One thing I would mention on the packaging is that sometimes you will see, and I see this a lot with Tiffany and Company in particular, different variations of the actual box. In some cases, the actual packaging may be non-authentic, and therefore maybe the item was not authentic to begin with. So I would be careful in terms of the packaging. If you're putting two items next to each other that are alike in terms of the packaging and they look different, you might want to look into that item a little bit closer, because I see that actually very often at some of the locations.
Okay, well, it's funny because you're saying that now, because under the dark blue velvet looking case, That's a Louis Vuitton box. It's an older Louis Vuitton box when they were brown. Now under the Damier,
The graph.
sorry. The orange box is new Louis Vuitton packaging for the last couple of years. And it looks to be maybe that the other boxes are real vintage Louis Vuitton. So it's, you know, we know this at a glance, but anytime you have packaging that has like Chinese characters on it or something like that, just go without packaging. You don't need it.
Yep.
Brent, anything you want to add or any
No, I
other
like all that. I mean, for me, the other thing that they're trying to do there, I think, is trying to show off the logos for those brands with that packaging. And that's a big deal because people buy stuff that screams, you know, luxury brand. So they've done a good job there as far as, I like that display.
Yep.
It's I don't want to say it's a lifestyle, but no matter what is going on, and I've said this 100 times, no matter what's going on in a woman's life, because the women are the majority of the people buying these handbags. Look, shoes, you know, will go from pumps to flats. Clothes, we fluctuate. A bag will always fit us. And when something happens, whether it's good or bad, the economy is tanking or going, you know, going great, we want something to make ourselves feel good. We may not carry it every day. It may sit in our closet, but luxury handbags is what we go for. And not all, but I'm going to say the majority of women, that's how we reward ourselves. That's how we make ourselves feel good. So you having these displayed properly in your stores and you market it is going to, I guarantee, drive sales.
That's what we call retail therapy. You
Yes.
had a bad day, go buy something.
I just had one of those days.
It feels so good to put new stuff in your closet.
I know, right?
All right, so we have one more, or I'm sorry, we have two more. So this one, just real quick again, if people want to put in the chat, just initial impressions. I think there are some good things going on, maybe some things that could be improved. So take just a few seconds here to drop in the chat what you think. We have crowded, good background color. All right, Deanna, what do you think about this?
Definitely crowded, but the one thing that I do like is that everything's displayed. I mean, the way that it's displayed is very nice. And it's, you know, you see the higher value items in the cases and then the small leather goods in the smaller case. The only thing I would say is lighting for that top row, because you want to direct people when they walk in. Oh, that's really bright over there. Oh my God, look at that. And any time that you can display anything with a really well-known material, like my eye immediately goes to Burberry on this. And then I scroll through all the other ones and I know all the other materials. So having a statement bag up there is always a good thing, but just the lighting, I would say it may be a little less crowded.
Great. I think that is the case here. It is a little crowded, and there's not necessarily any rationale in terms of the mixture of the brands. They're not necessarily organized in the way that I think even Brent would suggest. Some of the bags are overstuffed. I also see that. But to use Brent's word earlier, they are respecting the type of item that it is. The Chanel bags are all in the case. And so those are several $1,000s a piece. And so as a result, they should be displayed in some form like that. So I think Brent hit the nail on the head. They're at least respecting the product type.
All right, great. So hopefully everybody so far has gotten some really actionable recommendations, things that you could go and make changes today. Now, we did put in this example, I know, Deanna, because we may have some people on the line who are doing luxury handbags, they're doing them well, and maybe they're looking to up their game. And so go ahead and talk us through the pictures we're seeing here.
Okay, so this is literally, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I've been there in person. It's Scepter and Sash, which is, I think everybody knows Stephen Foster, Fresno Coin. I had a conversation with him and he spent a significant amount of time in the brand's boutiques, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, kind of trying to get that feel and recreate it in his store. So as you can see, when you walk in here, the word pawn would never, ever come to your mind. You would feel like you're in a luxury boutique. And he did it this way for a reason. They, like, I think Kathleen, you said this the other day, you know, let the brands who have spent millions and millions of dollars researching what works and what doesn't work. Success leaves clues, you know, go to your local Louis Vuitton or, you know, Chanel or MCM or whatever branded, you know, brands you have in your local malls and see how they have set everything up. But look at the colors, because the colors are going to give a feel when you walk in. Like, this is very warm and inviting. It's very luxurious. It's very classy. And it's done beautifully. So not everybody is going to have this amount of real estate or this amount of money to, you know, create an area in their store today. But this is something that you want to strive toward, to really evoke that feeling for your customers when they walk in and are searching for these luxury handbags.
Well, I really like his store. I haven't been to this particular one, but I remember when he was designing this and getting this set up. But the big takeaway I have is that that store matches the neighborhood that it's in. And so he had to go with that look, or he was not going to attract the shopper who lives around that store, because not every pawnbroker is going to be able to go that high end. I think sometimes our stores are a little too fancy for the neighborhoods that we're in too. But as far as giving you that luxury feel, no one's walking into that store and thinking this is a pawn shop. And I wish we had that store. I wished I had that store. I love it. I mean, that's beautiful. That's gorgeous.
It's a beautiful store. And also there is a suggestion of confidence in terms of authenticity as a result of the display and the way that the store is presented. So you generally won't walk into a store like this and think that the items are not authentic because of the way that it's displayed. So there is also that subconscious notion.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Tons of tips in there. Thanks to everybody for all your participation. Of course, continue to ask questions in the chat. Vitaly, you can take it away now with how to price items.
Yeah, so one of the main questions that I get from pawnbrokers who are looking to get into new categories, and this is any category, is how do I do it? Where do I start? And how do I get the confidence? And Deanna alluded to this earlier. The first way to start is to actually get bags in your store. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be a few of the brands that represent the brands that you want to start taking in. That's step one. We're not really here to talk about Marque's wholesale business, but that is a great place to start. You can buy a package of bags to get them on your shelf and let customers know that you're taking them in. Also, you know, creating a small piece of collateral that sits on the counter that says these are the bags, you know, most wanted bags or something like that. The second piece is training and getting your employees comfortable with taking in bags. And Bravo can assist with this within the estimator. So the estimator provides, you know, metadata questions is what the technical term is for these questions in the middle. And we've aligned these with Marque's condition ratings. So this is what's going to show when you're going through the estimator. We have these more lettered S-Mint, A-Mint, A-B on the marketing side. So when you go to price this and it goes online, we will actually show the lettered for consumers that are buying this online. So we've updated the estimator along with, you know, Marque's best practices on taking in handbags. And the estimator, the beauty of the estimator is that you're really providing a consistent brand and customer experience for the people that walk into your front doors. So if you have multiple stores, or if you have a single store and there's a different employee working that day, or you want to make sure that the same kinds of questions are being asked on every handbag that comes across the counter. So you want to make sure that they're asking, you know, consistently what the bag is, what style it is, what material, etc. The second thing that we've made updates to within the estimator, and also the way that these are going to be displayed online, is the order in which we're displaying the information. So we're taking best practices of resellers based on Deanna and Marque's recommendations of what order to display things in. And so now you'll have condition, brand, material, style, dust bag, authenticity card, brand box, receipt, and color. So that's the order. It's more consistent. It's more aligned in the industry. And then there's just some small takeaways on the metadata questions that I wanted to share with you. This was a conversation that Deanna and I had back and forth, because within each question, there are some things that I think are important to know. The first is the original box and the authenticity card. Not having them, it's not a deal breaker, but it does increase the value of that, maybe around $100. So if you don't have them, the estimator will deduct out of the price. And it's doing that because there is an impact whether the bag has those two things. But it's not a make it or break it. So if they don't have it, there's still value. It's the bag that has the value. It's not the original box. The second thing, dust bag adds value. It's nice to have. Again, it's not going to add a substantial amount to the resale value. And it definitely is not a make it or break it. So people don't require the dust bag when they're buying a pre-owned handbag. The third thing is the sales receipt. So one of the things that I was asking Deanna, she said, these are often not real. And I was like, well, does that make it important? Like, is it still important? And she was like, yeah, it's still important. But you really want to be careful with where that receipt is coming from. If it's out of the country, then make sure you're taking extra precautions on it. And then also make sure that the receipt matches the bag. So those are just some sort of training tips that go beyond the estimator, right? We're going to ask, does it have a dust bag? Does it have the original box? Does it have the sales receipt? But these are things that you can be paying attention to and in training your employees on, to make sure that not only are they answering the questions, but they know the impact of the questions on the value of the bag or what to look out for. So that's a little bit on pricing and lending. Again, this is built into Bravo, so it should give your employees confidence when they're taking these bags in. Bravo, alongside with some sort of authentication, alongside the Marque Mentor program, you will be an expert in handbags. You will be totally ready to take them in and sell them. So the tools are available. One of my favorite things that's happened in the pawn industry in the last 10 years since I've been at Bravo is that the availability of new tools and new categories that you can go into consistently and add to your brand has really grown, and the impact and the profitability of these products can have a really big impact on your company. And so utilize what's out there. Like Marque is out there for you. The mentor program is literally built for you to become an expert. Bravo's estimator makes it easier. And you can use all of these tools to literally start taking in something that you've never seen or never taken in before. And you can start doing it tomorrow. The last thing is, if you're a Bravo customer, and I know it's mixed on this webinar, when you click into the price guide, there's some important information if you like to deep dive into the data. And this helps obviously on items that are taken in the most frequently on handbags that are most seen across pawn shops. One of the things that I do want to point out that I see on nearly all items that are online, but specifically handbags, when you are selling these through Bravo's omni-channel, e-commerce channel. So if you're selling it with on Buy It or on eBay using Bravo's API, your margin is still really substantial. It's a 53% margin on Buy It and a 62% margin if you're using the eBay API, compared to if you're doing this manually, your margin's 38%. So use the estimator, use the tools. You can look at the days to sell, see how fast you're going to turn it over. This should give you confidence to loan an extra $5 or $10. So obviously when you're lending, you're taking into consideration who the customer is, you're looking at their profile, but also really dive in on a handbag. If you can turn this thing really quickly, lend a little bit more. The great thing about handbags is it's not in the back room depreciating. these don't depreciate sitting in loan. And so you have an advantage there to make more aggressive loans and also be protected on the other side. So these are some of the tools that Bravo offers that should make your life easier when you're taking in handbags. Brent, I guess you're the customer here. Anything that you would want to add to that?
Well, I would just say that we love Bravo. Tally knows that, and we love Marque. And one of the things that I think that pawnbrokers miss opportunities on that she hit on was giving more on something so that you can sell it faster, because this is showing you. And I would tell you that bags do not depreciate in the back. And if you follow the steps that were talked about today, as far as the way you display the bag and you clean the bag, then you're going to get more money out of that item when you put it out on the floor, and you can give more on it. And Bravo does an amazing job of helping. We have new folks that start every day, and they always say, how do you know so much about something? And we always tell them, we use the data that is provided with Bravo. Bravo doesn't make the only decision for you, but it does help you get a leg up, because I'm a dude, man. I don't carry a bag. I'm never carrying a bag. I don't know anything about bags, but I tell you what I do know. I know that my wife likes that bag, and I know that she will pay a premium to get that bag because she wants to carry it. So then I need to pay attention to it. And when I pay attention to it, I go into Bravo and I see that the average sales price on that bag, which we sell for more than their average sale price, I'm selling it for $300 and $400 more than that number. So I'm like, wow, I should pay more attention to this. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without all the metrics that we get from Bravo. So that's all I would say about that.
Thank you, Brent. That's a rave review. We love it. And speaking of tools, right? It's not just about Bravo, but Marque has a continuing ed program. And so Deanna, I know there are some people who weren't on last week. So if you could just walk us through a slide or two about what this is, what people will learn, that would be great.
Sure. So Quentin and I created Marque Mentor, 6 months ago, I think it was, because we both knew, and we had talked about this for a very long time, that there is no education from sources you can trust for the luxury resale industry, and especially around bags. So with the Mentor program, we've created a platform on Slack to where you have access to myself and other advisors to get answers in real time to questions, from authentication to pricing to selling to marketing to social media. There's a ton of activity that goes on in there. And it's, we've got advisors like Graham Wetzberger, who was the director of authentication for The Real Real for 8 years. We have Foxy LV, we have lawyers, we have marketing people. That's what the gist or the core of the Mentor program is. On the flip side with this is we've created courses and are creating courses along with companion books to teach you the basics on authentication. So volume 1, each volume has 5 brands in it, and it's breaking it down to what authentic hardware would look like, what the serial numbers, how to read them, even if they change over the years, the materials, interior and exterior, zippers used, where it's manufactured. So it's a beginner's level to understand and learn about the brands. I'm super excited about it because, again, even through my research, I either see copy and paste on a bunch of resale websites or just so much misinformation out there that it's scary. So excited to put this together. And once you complete a course or a volume, you receive a certificate of completion, which you get one off the Teachable platform, but we like ours better. So we'll send you a hard copy that you can frame and be proud of. And it's great for new employees coming in that may not know anything about bags. So between this course and then all the knowledge in the back end of the Bravo platform or the Bravo system, I mean, you guys are pretty set there. So just think what we're trying to do here is just strictly education and support and guidance for anybody in the luxury resale industry.
That's great. And then I think on that next slide, Tally, we actually have the badges as well, if you just want to touch on.
Ooh, badges. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Tally.
Okay, so these badges are to basically show online that you have taken these courses and that you have the certificate of completion. And the way that you are going to be displaying these is within your images. It will be your last image, and on Baya and on your own company branded site, will basically provide you the images to be able to explain what these different certificates mean. So when we were looking at that one glass display, Quentin saw in the very bottom right corner, like that's an entropy sticker, and that gives credibility to the items that are in this case. Same thing with these badges. It gives confidence to the buyers that you're taking a proactive role in learning about bags, authenticating bags, paying attention, and really staying up to date, because bags are ever changing. And it's really important that your employees and you yourself, if you're in the handbag industry and you're getting into this, that you're continuing the education. This isn't a one and done. This is constantly evolving. And so it's really important to get the certifications, to stay up on them. There's awesome discounts if you're a Bravo customer. It's basically 2 for 1 for your employees. So there's really no reason not to do that. Again, as far as Brent was saying, if you stuff it and you clean it and you do all of these things, your value goes up. If you have if you have the badge, if you have the certifications, that increases the value as well. So that's the badge situation. In the last webinar, we also provided an image. If you have company branded and you're a Bravo customer and you want to drop in an image of handbags, we have that for you. So we will go ahead and send that out. But we're just trying to make it easier for you to display and advertise and market and price handbags so that you can get into this category with confidence.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll stay on the line here for another minute or two in case other questions come in. If you have any other questions or you're interested in Marque Mentor or the continuing education program, you can see Deanna's contact information up there. And we have the pleasure of doing one more webinar in this series with Marque. That's the 23rd. And this is really some kind of counterfeit conversations, right? We know customer experience is at the top of everybody's mind. So how do you have a conversation with somebody who comes in your store and let them know the bad news that maybe the bag they have is not authentic? So Deanna's going to talk us through how to really have that conversation with the customer without jeopardizing the relationship that you have with them. So if there are any questions, go ahead and add those. Brent, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. Quentin and Deanna, as always, we love working with you guys. Thank you so much for your time today. And Tally, great job.
Thank you again.
I love working with you too, Tally.
Y'all have a good day.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.